It was a cold, wet Sunday afternoon, and Bobo and Charlie went for a new player selection game on a local football field that was waterlogged and uninviting. It was then decided to switch the game to an all-weather gravel pitch that was nearby. The gravel pitch was well renowned for its hard, gritty surface that took no prisoners. In the past, there had been many's a knee that had been scraped, and many's a hand that was badly injured with a badly timed slide tackle. But nevertheless, it taught you to be agile and fast to escape getting tackled for the ball. Bobo and Charlie lined up with the rest of the team, and the game would only last a half hour and not the full 90 minutes. The purpose of the game was to discover any good players that were in the local village to represent the village in the district's cup that was about to kick off. Bobo was tough and fit thanks to the boxing training at Bosco's, and Charlie was agile and versatile because of the dancing skills that he had acquired from the ballet lessons his mother had sent him to have during the previous summer. There was room for improvement in both of them, and the local football team needed to field a new team after many of the previous team had moved out of the village and they were short of players. And so the game began, with Bobo getting a warning from the referee for going in too hard to win the ball. Charlie started to argue with the referee to support his best friend. "Get off the grass, referee! Won the ball fair and square!" The referee gave Charlie a hard stare and he said, "I'll be the judge of what's fair and what's a foul." Bobo noticed that Charlie was getting a bit upset with what the ref had said, and he stepped in saying, "Sorry, ref, look, I'm usually better in goalkeeping than being a defender." The referee smiled and he went over and had a friendly word with the manager, who was standing on the sidelines, who switched Bobo from the defence position in centre half to goalkeeper. Charlie then was put in the centre half, and the goalkeeper was then sent up into the attack. And from that moment on, the game seemed to change for the better. There was no question about Bobo's ability with his hands, and not many shots went past him and goal. Charlie soon settled down in the centre half spot, and so it was no sweat so far. The game was flowing well. There was no blood, sweat or tears that were shed, and there were no free kicks. And the ball was doing most of the work, getting knocked around well at the feet of most of the players. No one wanted to hold on to the ball for long, just in case they got a tackle and fell down upon the gravel. And Bobo encouraged Charlie to sweep up beyond the halfway line and to have a few shots at the goalie of the other team. And the encouragement paid off, with Charlie opening up the scoring with a right-footed shot finding the back of the net, which made him jump for joy in the air, and as he jumped, he held on to his shins that gave the impression that he was floating on air. His teammates all cheered and raised their hands up in the air. At times, playing football had its moments when the team you played with took the lead. It started to rain, but the game continued, and it was okay because everyone was having fun on the gravel pitch. Bobo made some great saves, plucking the ball from the heads of the other strikers before they could connect with it. Once you were out on the field playing on the gravel pitch, it wasn't that hard at all. And it allowed more ball work and passes rather than holding on and trying to dribble with the ball. Both teams played well, but Bobo was born with a will to win and continued to shout at the players, encouraging them to give more effort. And somehow his shouting and encouragement paid off, and they scored another goal. And soon after, it was a one-sided affair, with Bobo and Charlie's team winning 2-0. They were all smiles, and there was good sportsmanship that was seen, and that was the greatest factor on the field after the game was over. Bobo and Charlie, they were informed that they had been selected to play for Bosco Celtic, the local village team. On the way home, Charlie said, "See that ref, Bobo? He was lucky I kept my cool." Bobo replied, "By the way, Charlie, thanks for your support. Actually, I'm glad it turned out the way it did, because I kept, being confident in the goals, and I feel that's my true position. And by the way, that was a cracker of a shot you scored, Charlie." Charlie was so pleased with what Bobo had said, and he replied, "Bobo, did you see the curve on the ball? I put a swivel that spun the ball into a bend of a shot, and the keeper, he never smells it, Bobo." Noticing Charlie was reveling in the compliment, he laid on some more praise on Charlie and said, "Tell you what, Charlie, you might have a rare talent there with the ball at your feet. In my opinion, you know what? You could go anywhere with that. In fact, you might have a career out there as a professional player in a big club." Charlie threw out his chest and he said, "Bobo, when I'm somebody playing for a big team, I remember them words you said." Bobo, he smiled and he replied, "Charlie, you know what? When you become a somebody playing for a big team, I can tell everybody that I knew you when you were a nobody." "Thanks, Bobo," Charlie replied. Yeah. Bobo and Charlie had recognized they had something in common, a love for football. And Charlie said, "You know what? Nobody's perfect, so I don't mind being a nobody, Bobo." They both laughed. A few weeks passed, with some regular practice and training before the very first game of the knockout competition. The winner of the Northern District's Cup would be the unbeaten team at the end of the comp. On the first match to be played, Bobo was standing in goal, and Charlie was moved up front to centre forward. A large crowd stood around the football pitch in the village oval to watch Bosco Celtic play Millbrook United. The atmosphere was electric, and Bobo and Charlie were eager to get the game started. After the kick-off, Bobo's team went straight into the attack and were unlucky not to open the score with a goal in the first 5 minutes. At half-time, both the teams were evenly matched and the score was 0-0. Charlie spoke to the coach of Bosco, informing him about a handball the referee missed. The coach said, "Charlie, don't talk about stuff that the referee missed. Let's try not to miss any chances that come our way." Bobo was always willing to speak for Charlie, saying, "Charlie, remember that swivel bender cannonball of yours? Try to send one of those in the first chance you get." "Charlie, remember? Have a go." Charlie smiled and he replied, "All right, you be, Bobo. I'm going to have a crack at that." Bobo closed his fist and he punched the air, shouting to the rest of the team, "Let's go, lads. Let them know who we are." Charlie added, "We're the Bosco boys and we're out to win." All the teams cheered and the referee blew the whistle to kick off for the second half. The half-time pep talk paid off with a right-footed bender from Charlie going into the back of the net. The opposition responded with a furious attack to score an equaliser, but their efforts to score was thwarted by Bobo's ability to punch away tricky crosses and dangerous through balls into the penalty box. The referee was busy chewing Wrigley's all the game because the game became more intense, and their drive to get an equaliser brought a penalty kick for Millbrook, with a late tackle on their main striker who broke through the defence. Trying to keep his composure, the Millbrook centre forward placed the ball on the penalty spot. Bobo never flinched. He had the eye of a tiger and was watching which way the striker's shoulders were leaning, and before the ball was kicked, Bobo was already in a dive to the right and was able to save the penalty with a two-handed grab. The people watching around the ground applauded, and some of them screamed out, "Oh yeah, no doubt, Bobo! Great save, Bobo!" After the penalty, there was no time left to kick off, and Bosco won their first game by a 1-0. Now, after their win, the team was filled with confidence and an urge to keep winning. Topper, the team coach, was very impressed with the effort Bosco Celtic had made, and now put together a plan called the siege attack, which was to put the opposition under constant pressure in their own half and taking on as many shots as they could whenever the goal was in view. He said to the team, "I don't care where you are in the field, but if you see the goal, have a shot. You might miss a dozen, but one of them might go in." The new strategy worked, as they had dominated the next few games with frequent attacks from the kickoff and often scored within the first few minutes. Topper began to focus on penalty kicks with his team and taught them how to send the keeper the wrong way by switching the kicking foot at the last moment, which meant the keeper was off balance before the kick was taken. They practiced that until it became perfect. Bob Brennan, the coach of Bosco Celtic, was on a winning streak with his team and tried to keep them focused and calm, and instructed them to keep on the attack and to keep using the siege mentality with their attack. So while the opposition were dribbling and passing, Bosco were shooting and scoring goals and winning games. They had momentum on their side using that strategy and reached the semi-final of the Northern Districts Cup, which was a very, very close game. And it ended up to be a penalty shootout to decide who would make the final. Bobo was determined not to let a ball go past into the net, and he stopped every shot. But the ricochet and rebound went in 3 times. However, the boys from Bosco never missed a penalty and were now straight into the final of the Northern Districts Cup. The day came for the big cup final, and at the stadium in the city, lots of local supporters from the village came to watch the Bosco Celtic team take on last year's winners, Beltax Rovers. The match was tight, with both teams having chances without scoring. The game went into extra time, and just as the game was set for a penalty shootout, Bosco Celtic got a corner kick. Bobo left his goal line and went up for the corner that Charlie took. The corner kick was beautifully taken and placed right in front of Bobo, who leapt up above head and shoulders and nodded the ball into the back of the net. The cup now belonged to Bosco Celtic, much to the dislike and envy of Beltax Rovers, who had a reputation of being the kings of the competition. The Bosco boys all got winners' medals, and the opposition had to settle for second best. Topper, the coach, was over the moon with winning the final, and as a reward, he took the team away to a holiday camp for a few days. The end.